So Bytes put out a questionnaire, didn't they, about basically the security threats and risks facing our customers, or what they feel have been the biggest challenges over the last, we're in September now, so 9 months. What are your thoughts on the report?
I think as part of our insights, my perspective as a cyber evangelist is quite reassuring. Some of the challenges that some of our customers are facing, it's all part of a journey, right? So you get certain things like an amalgamation of tools, that can be really frustrating. It takes a lot of manpower to manage all of these tools.
Never mind the expense.
Absolutely. And so sometimes certain things can be addressed, so use of managed services, and sometimes integrations between vendors as well to really reduce that.
Yeah, SOCs.
Managed SOCs is definitely one as well. And I think, generally we always see organisations with, very strict and sometimes shrinking budgets as well.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I'd argue at the moment. Cost of living crisis. It's all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the challenge with that is we live in a time where we do have a skills gap, within the industry.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big advocate for having more women in cyber. Of course, being a woman, it's really
Absolutely.
important to me to try and encourage more women to join.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having a skills gap and having to address diversity within the workplace as well, whilst trying to retain people, can be somewhat of a challenge. And it's really understanding how we can prepare our customers and really help them along their journey.
Just on that, I'm interested. So the report for me, so I'm the cyber threat intelligence analyst for Bytes, and I was really interested in the fact that 40% worry about increased threats. And we're talking things like the standard ones, malware and ransomware, phishing and social engineering, and like data breaches, of course, being the three main ones. And that became very apparent in the report. But I was also interested in the fact that so we've got the insider threats, and we also have third-party vendors being thought of as less of a risk. And I thought the third-party vendors one was really interesting because, if you look at the news, it's full of third-party vendor breaches now. I'm thinking of His Majesty's Naval Base, I would have to say His Majesty now.
Yeah.
Up in Clyde, up in Scotland. Of course, the breach there wasn't directly at the government, but it was a third-party supplier to the government to gain, access or information on that area. So, things like that are very prominent at the moment.
You'd almost expect it to be slightly higher in regards to the, feedback in regards to it being a challenge. Yeah. It was a very interesting report, especially some of the things that were fed back. A hot topic that it's been a hot topic for quite a while has been AI.
Yeah.
We've had the popularization around large language models and how that then affects threats moving forwards.
Yeah, and it's huge.
It is, and I think we're right on the crux of really understanding how organisations can actually prepare against it. Yeah. And a lot of that has come around, I think, understanding the policies around it. Are those models actually allowed? I know you mentioned one of the examples around The Guardian as well, which was really interesting.
Yeah, and creative industries, and the fact that The Guardian stopped ChatGPT from scraping their content, because obviously it's a paid-for service, and if an automated service comes in and scrapes their content, then they're not making any money from it. So, but how many? I'm pretty sure I could list like 20 different examples like that where there's no governance at the moment. So it's a worry for people, especially in those type of industries.
It is. I think overall, when we look at the landscape as it is at the moment, and we actually take a look into cyber risk, there's an amalgamation of things that we need to address, and compliance, policy, sometimes training and awareness
Definitely.
amongst the employee base makes a massive change. So there's a lot of different aspects that we're having conversations with our customers around, and giving some guidance and strategy to help improve their security posture.
On that, so another thing that surprised me is that 50% of users say that they're either monitoring threats reactively or proactively, which I thought was really good. And only 36% are actually using a SIEM or a SOC. So that I thought was quite surprising, because for me, the whole point of cyber threat intelligence is that it kind of, I see it as like a thread, like weaving together all the elements of security. And I think the problem you've got is if you're not actually actively monitoring the threats and then applying them to your organisation, it's the application that's important. It's the same with pen testing. I can say, right, here are all the problems or here are all the risks to your organisation. But if you guys don't do something about those risks, it's kind of counterproductive, I'd argue. So yeah, I definitely think that we need to maybe look more at implementing strategies and using cyber threat intelligence to bring everything together.
Absolutely.
I like to think of it as like a really good reactive tool, but as more importantly, a proactive tool too. And to me, I suppose it's like a weather forecast. If you want to put it in very basic terms, it's a case of, right, we live in the UK. We know full well it's going to rain at some point. I mean, the weather you start with in the morning is never the weather you end up with. So of course you always take precautions to make sure that you've got an umbrella, you've got a waterproof, or you're just going to be inside all day.
Right.
So for me, with cyber threat intelligence, it's a case of you have to have stuff in place to make sure that you're prepared should a cyber attack occur, or that you're consciously thinking about the threats that are out there and how they can affect you.
Being prepared is having that visibility and that guidance, and not just being reactive.
No.
Having that strategy in place, understanding where your gaps may lie, because no organisation is perfect. We've done so much work with organisations around security validation, so really understanding, are the things that we're doing within an organisation actually working, and where are those gaps to be able to increase that security posture as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joelle.